Hang on, my things are. I'm going to turn that off. There we go.
I'm glad to see we're both rocking the knit today.
The blue and white knits, yes, they're very
It's
good.
the season for it.
Very good, very good. Um, so yes, this is yes. Let me introduce you before Sophie, no doubt,
Yeah,
jumps on. Thank you, Faye, again for joining me.
pleasure.
Um, we are interviewing Sophie Power today,
Yes.
and as always, we'll say as always, but as we have been recently, we are powered by Core. Um, Core body temp using that sensor to help you heat train over this horrible winter period. I expect lots of people are on their treadmills or bikes or indoor stuff. As we watch those hardy souls plodding up the Pennine Way.
Absolutely, the absolute extreme. Yes.
I wonder if they did any heat training or if that's just a distant memory for them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't imagine they felt their extremities for some time.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I know I say this every year, but it's like, God, the weather's really bad, isn't it? And it's like, it's January. That's the whole point.
I know, but you
Um,
do when you see it in stark, see it there every day as you follow the race, you go, my God, it's just relentless.
yeah, you really do, don't you? Are you following anyone in particular?
Not really. I'm just following all and everyone.
Yeah,
I just love seeing all the different stories and the different kind of yeah, just the yeah, how it unfolds.
yeah,
And I love seeing all the pictures, the photographs, and how they
yes.
capture all the different parts of the race.
It's
And
it's
yeah,
such a big team now, isn't it? That's
yeah,
part of
huge.
the media team that it's amazing the sort of the amount and variety of photos that's popping up on my
Because you've got
feed.
so many photographers part of it
Mm,
now, whereas you used to
yeah,
have maybe one or two, but now
yeah,
you've got names that you've been seeing,
yeah.
who photograph at all the major races now.
And they've all
But
got
no,
such
it's good.
different sort of strengths and
Yeah,
quirkiness that makes their photos, quite unique. Um,
exactly.
so yeah, how's your training going?
Yeah, good. All right. I feel positive today. I got out for a unique midweek longer run. Now that I have the flexibility, it's quite nice to go, do you know, I don't have to do this on a Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to go on a Wednesday and see what happens. And just, do you know, just knowing that actually now I can go, right, my weekends, I don't have to be that person that goes on a Sunday morning. So I'm
Um,
going out for 3 hours and then leave your other half at home going, here we go again.
yes.
So I,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
so I think
Absolutely.
I'm gonna shift it a little bit and see if I can make it better both for myself and for for Leonie as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea, I think. I mean, that's the joy of working for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I remember it was a revelation to me when I dropped from 5 days a week to 4 days a week, and I had Wednesdays off. And it was the first time I ever did the weekly shop on a Wednesday.
Oh,
And
game changer.
it was mind blowing. I was so excited. And I know
I
that
j
sounds that
no,
heads me in a very
I
sad light.
I actually couldn't agree with you more. And I have this conversation with someone that I coach regularly about our
Mm,
dislike of food shopping,
mm,
particularly at busy periods, and how if you can
yes.
do it in the week or even I'm an online shopper, I'll quite
Yes.
happily let someone bring it to my door. Saves me 2 hours.
Mm, yeah, 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 yeah.
But
But it's
yeah,
just that I just, weekends now for me, I don't know. I just, is it a terrible thing to say? I just don't like crowds. So, I
oh, I
mean,
don't
whether
either.
it's walking in the hills, running, shopping, doing anything that involves when most other people are around, that's a
Yeah.
hard no, thank you. I'll be doing that during the week.
Absolutely with you on that for sure.
Um,
Yes,
yeah.
most definitely. But yeah, running is all right, and trying to get myself into the headspace of, well, just actually that we are in 2026 and I've signed up to two relatively big races and that I, need to start thinking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 definitely. I
But yeah,
think maybe I
yeah.
need to enter something a bit closer. At the moment, I've got,
Well,
yeah, that's what.
I keep talking to people about this, and I think it's too easy sometimes if you have something far away for it to
Mm,
become this, oh, I've got this thing, and it's, well, 6 months away. And in your head, that's like, oh, I've got ages. But actually, I think similarly, I'm going to sign up to something in March just to give
yes,
myself something on
yeah,
the way.
yeah. Maybe April for
Mm.
me. Hello,
Hello. There
Sophie's
we
joining us. Oh, she's sideways. She's long ways. She's there.
go.
We go.
I've worked it out. I've worked it out now. Hang on, I'm stuffing like the last thing to my cheese toasty in my mouth.
Oh, it's fine. Sophie, this is Faye, who's kindly
Hi, Sophie.
guest hosting with
Hi,
me.
Faye. Nice to meet you.
And yes, and Faye is has been sent a sneak copy of your ooh, look at that. The book. Very exciting. So I think, what did you say? You've only got to chapter two
I've
or
only got to chapter 3. I'm not a very fast reader,
three.
but it only came on the week. I think it came on Saturday. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Oh, no, this is brilliant. So, but I mean, first of all, Sophie, how are you? And I mean, well, I spoke to you last year, didn't I? After you did your amazing Wales traverse. That's the
Island. So that
um,
was the year before.
was that the year
So
before?
yeah, so
My
last, so
God.
it was May 2024. I did the length of Ireland, and
Oh,
then this time last year at the run show, I did the 48-hour world record on the treadmill. Hang on, put the other one in.
okay.
Um, and yeah, no, because the last year was taken up by I had the 48-hour treadmill world record, and then went straight into GB World Championship 24-hour training. Um,
Team Gold, yay.
I know it's amazing. And via kind of race to the stones, um, and then I ran into 100 because with
Yes.
3 kids and Christmas, and it's the first time I've had 3 kids at school. My daughter just started reception, and that incredible crazy brain stuff of managing. Every single club seems to have a Christmas thing and a nativity, and one kid needs like a random costume to be an international traveler, and the other needs something else. And I was just like, I need to get away, and the
Yeah.
only way I can think of doing it is running 100 miles on trails through the night. And
I
I
think
was
that's
the
brilliant. I loved your post about that. That was I think a lot of women can relate to that.
I had a lot of messages thinking exactly the same, and everyone's own way of doing it. But I think my brain just takes so much to switch off, and you're multitasking all the time. And unless I'm so focused on something else, it doesn't have that kind of. I know some people meditate. I guess that's my form of meditation. I guess that's the same for a lot of trail runners.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. I don't think I could sit still for that long.
No.
Yes, meditating is done well, yeah, I think it's done in many different ways. You don't have to be still. As you say, you can lose yourself inside yourself as you're running, can't you?
I trying to like avoid the next bog or make sure that you don't take a wrong
Yeah.
turn or
Yes. Yes.
or manage the hallucinations that start. And yeah,
Ah,
it's a beautiful. And then there was a cloud inversion on the ridge on sunrise, and it was just amazing. But that was me kind of clearing my head before the craziness of Christmas with 3 kids.
yeah, yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well done. Because I mean, you said that you were, not focusing on speed, and yet you still got second lady and came in 3 hours under the record.
It was the second year that it was being run. And I think it was, I had
Okay,
so much
yes.
fitness from the 24-hour that I'd had flu and COVID after the 24 and been really hit. I think we forget how our immune systems can get a real kind of beating after these longer efforts. And
Yeah.
it just happened to coincide with that worst point of kind of October half term where all the germs are spreading and I never get sick. But this was the first time I've been
Yeah.
properly kind of double whammy hit. And it was just getting a little bit of fitness back. But you don't really lose that base speed, kind of trudging forward type speed that we have. So those are the races you can kind of rock up to and think everything's going to be okay. Some of the faster stuff is a little bit more scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations. Um, and of course, we're really here to talk about your forthcoming book, aren't we? What prompted that?
Um, so I started writing,
I think after the UTMB photo, so that is how I did this by the age of my son because he was obviously kind of teeny tiny. So that's about 7 years ago. I started writing about 6 years ago, thinking about a book, was asked by a lot of people kind of to write. And I wrote half the book. And it was very much about running, my journey into running and kind of the lessons I've learned from the impact of that photo. But I just paused and I thought, there's another chapter. And I don't know what this is, but I know that this is not the point to bring a book out. And I just sat on it. And then when I was running the treadmill world record, Charlotte, my editor at Bloomsbury, came up to me on the treadmill. I think it might have been day two, and I was very tired. And she said, "Are you interested in writing?" And it got to me that I think where I've come from, where I've got to with kind of going from the kid that was second last in the mile to kind of three GB vests. And I think most importantly, SheRaces and the work we've been able to do so far, it felt like the right time to write the story so far.
Yeah.
And but not just the story. I think I wanted to do something that I thought could help others. And in sharing the barriers I've faced, the learnings I've had, I don't want anyone to make all the mistakes that I've made running kind of 60 odd ultras and some of the sillier ones. So it felt like the right time to do it.
Brilliant, brilliant. I mean, it's certainly something that's coming more and more to the forefront as any the issues that women face in all running. I mean, I was going to say trail running, but it doesn't
But
matter
all,
what
yeah.
surface you're on, does it?
I think it's a fascinating conversation because I often, when starting to read your book, Sophie, started to think about things and go, do you know, I've become that person, I think sometimes who's become a little blasé to some of the things that we encounter. And I'm not saying that that's right, but you do become quite accustomed to certain kind of barriers or limitations. And when you read it in someone's, it's right in front of you and you go, actually this isn't okay, or actually, this is something that should be addressed.
I think
So
it's, I
I,
mean, I learned a lot of mine only by going back through the book and realizing. So, for example, looking at some of the barriers to trail running and women feeling safe on the trail and feeling that they belong on the trail. I grew up with all my holidays in the Lake District, and my older cousin was a scout leader. So,
Mm,
at a very young age, I could read an OS map and feel very comfortable in the countryside. And there's lots of people there that look like me, and I felt that I had a home on the trails. It's a barrier that lots of people face to getting into running, not feeling comfortable, not knowing where to go. I was rough camping as a kid. So when
Mhm.
I'm out there late at night, I feel much more comfortable in my abilities to deal with things should they happen. And so understanding that wasn't a barrier for me, but it is to so many others when people explain, well, I don't know where to go. And I'm an ambassador of OS Maps. I love maps.
yeah,
I'm obsessive with the app. Everywhere I go, it's like, oh, where there's a trail and where's a footpath and
yeah,
where can I go running? But looking back, I think over my whole kind of career, you see things, looking at this through a new lens that maybe should have been fixed and shouldn't have been there, and looking at how I was made redundant in a pretty nasty way. And it's been really interesting looking at that and going, there's a lot of things that shouldn't have happened. I think school sport is a huge one, looking at girls at the age of 5, kind of less confident in sport than boys, and the huge dropout rates there are. But
yes,
it's
yeah.
now I look at things with a very different lens, and especially through the lens of so many other women that we've worked with and researched with at She Races. There's a lot of different views, but there's so many different things that need to be changed.
I think you're right in the perspectives that you learn. Where I'm temporarily living at the moment, just outside Leeds, it's the first time in my life I've been worried about running at night. I did it once, and I've honestly not done it again.
I
Um,
remember you saying that, Katie, because you went
yeah,
out and you were like, I feel on edge for the
it
whole
was
duration.
it was just horrible, really, really horrible feeling. I was almost my heart was palpitating. My breathing was rapid, and I was like a frightened rabbit. I mean, perhaps I should have done it more often, and I would have settled into it a bit more. But up until here, I've always thought, what's wrong with running at night? I have no problem running at night. I skip out all the time. I've always lived in the depths of the countryside, and I've always joked to my daughter, well, there aren't going to be any idiots sort of hiding under the hedge on the off chance a lone woman's kind of come running along, are they? and it's only since moving here that I've gone, oh God, okay, now I understand.
The only part of Winter 100 I felt uncomfortable was when we had to pass through Alton and it was pub
Mm.
closing time and it was like 11:30 or something. And that's where I found myself crossing the road several times with a lot of kind of leering, some people very drunk. I didn't want to pass them on a tight pavement. The
Mm.
second I got back out into the countryside, I felt so much more. And I always think kind of with a head torch on, I feel very safe at night. Maybe more safe than in the day because no one knows I'm a woman. You
Mm.
cannot
Yes.
see the size.
Right.
You cannot see.
Yeah.
I have a very bright head torch that you're not seeing anything but this beam. And I think that helps. But knowing that that's a barrier, and I love the events are looking to break this down by having night runs with head torches, bringing women out in groups. All these amazing
Mm.
women's trail running groups that are recceing parts of races before, so we feel
Yeah.
that much more confident on those trails. It's so important, and it has such an impact on women's participation in these races. And we've got so many brilliant race directors that have just will do this, and they see, but they don't because it hasn't been a barrier for them.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
naturally something that they would do, and I think that's the more we can talk about the issues we face, the more we can actually have those very, very, very simple changes done to get
Mm.
more women out in the trials and more women comfortable, especially at the longer distances and especially as we go through the night.
Yeah. And I think, Sophie, you make that point. If we can give women the tools and the know-how to feel confident, that makes such a difference to what they feel like they can go out and do.
And I think it's the same. It's giving us the tools and then giving us the confidence that we're capable of doing the race. And I think we
Yeah.
sometimes look at race websites and they say biggest, baddest, toughest race.
Oh,
We're going to
yeah.
cut you off. And I think we're physiologically different. Like as women, we know we have periods, we have babies, but we're also kind of psychologically different in that we've been brought up differently. And
Hmm.
we see that so strongly, not all women, but most women, and that we have less confidence in our own abilities. We were told at age 5 we weren't as good at sport as school as boys, and we've kept that. So saying kind of we're going to cut you off, this is really difficult, rather than saying this is a pace you need to go to meet
Mm.
the cutoffs. They're
Hmm.
even pace. We're not going to make you do that whole sprint to the first cutoff and then slow down because it's not based on someone that goes out too fast. We probably pace anecdotally, women potentially pace a little bit better than men, a little more evenly. But this
Mm.
is what you need to do. This is a kind of training you need to do. And it's not you need to run, here's a training plan and you need to run 70-mile weeks
No,
because that's
exactly.
not,
Yeah.
and I see that and I can't, I mean, on average last year, I think I did 60 miles a week. And that included blocks of world championship training. Like I'm a mum of three.
Do you know, Sophie, this is music to my ears. Yeah, it's just wonderful to hear someone like yourself talk like that and say, do you know, I've achieved all of this and these, I'm not going out and doing 100 plus miles a week to achieve that. And you don't have to do that to be successful at whatever level that might be.
We forget how active lives can be. And I think it's very different if you're a kind of a young person, kind of desk job, you drive your desk job and you don't get any extra exercise. I do 20 miles of hiking a week with my kids on the school
Yeah.
run. It's up and down a hill to get to the school and up and down a hill back. And then there's the weekends and the ferrying, and then there's the kind of chasing my 5-year-old around. And there's about 20 miles in that. That's training.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely training. And um, you have to count that in there. And if I did the 70, 80 miles plus that on top, that's actually where your body starts breaking down. I think
Mm.
looking at what everyone else does is never the right way. And I think I'm so lucky I've got kind of Eddie Sutton as a coach, and she's a mum of three, and she absolutely gets all of this. And she programs what I can handle. And that actually goes up and down during the
Yeah,
year.
of
And
course. Yeah.
a recovery week will always be in half term because they're madness.
Yeah.
And I can't do the mileage in half term. So she puts the mileage down. And I think we just all need to work this around our lives because for so
Yeah.
few of us, it's our job. The rest of us, this should just be something we love doing.
Yeah.
I should
Absolutely
actually
right.
point out at this. I don't know if you realise that Faye is a coach and she's my coach.
Oh, I I didn't know
Um,
that.
No,
and
so
and in
it's
fact, you
just
put something out recently, didn't you, about just the sort of general life stresses.
yeah,
It's adds on, or should be counted as part of your training. You kind of need to
absolutely.
allow for it.
It's absolutely, and that's taking that kind of whole person approach to someone's training. Because, like you just said, Sophie, we do this because we love doing it. It's our hobby. We enjoy it. Whether it's somewhere we can become physically fitter or gain confidence or get mental clarity. But equally, we've got families to look after and jobs to do and everything else that's going on. So it's not there to be an additional stressor. It's there to, well, for us to enjoy and to fit around everything else we've got going on.
No, I think the lines are blurred for me in recent years, which is something I've tried to handle. I think when I got my first GB vest, it was all purely by accident. And I didn't realize that I'd run the qualifying distance because I was just trying to qualify for Spartathlon without having to go through the ballot. And then it became a little bit more serious. And it's not my job. This is what I do. But I also realized that running for GB, setting world records, it gives me a platform to talk about SheRaces. And that's my goal, is to
Yeah.
have that impact, to kind of drive kind of barriers down for women globally now. And we're kind of all over the world, kind of races in a huge amount of races in India, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Oman. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's my passion. And the running, there's been a bit more pressure on my running to perform, to give the platform. So that's something I'm kind of working through because I don't really care about winning medals.
No,
It's not, it doesn't, if I come first, it doesn't really mean anything. Kids love a trophy. Kids
Yeah.
love a trophy. And I got really excited when kind of I didn't realize I was winning Race the Stones last year until I actually saw the tape, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll get a trophy. Didn't take it to the kids. Literally didn't mean anything because someone else is always better than you. Someone else is a pro athlete. There are pro athletes in this sport. They can turn up, you come second. Does it mean you've not run as well? No.
no.
But I think that
Absolutely.
the team side has been the game changer for me. And, I'm hoping to run as a team a couple of times this year. And that running for a team is where I think in the worlds I dug deeper than I'd ever have to dig because I knew that there was a medal on the line for others.
Mm.
And that's been an understanding that I care about that. But yeah, this medals are great, but I mean, they're not that important.
And it doesn't stop you. It doesn't stop you from having your platform either. I don't think. I mean, you're probably as known for SheRaces, if not more now, than being a GB runner.
I think so. I think it's SheRaces hopefully is very much taking a life of its own. I think it started out and I was so lucky to have that photo as a platform to use. And now there's more and more people that don't know my story, but they know SheRaces. And that's where I want it to move to. I want kind of, if I fall off a mountain tomorrow, SheRaces still very much exists and grows and continues to do good work and continues to expand the research we've done. We've just done a big piece into back of the pack runners and how we make sure that those that are kind of slower in the field get the same treatment and are super supported. So that's about to come out. Then there's one on pregnancy. There's another big project this year. So they all happen. And they're nothing to do with me. They're very much on looking at kind of a huge group of women, a huge group of sports.
Mm.
Because now it started as ultra running and now it's into kind of the roadside, triathlon, moving into cycling. We work with obstacle course races. I think there's like a dog sledding race that we're chatting to. I mean, it's amazing. I love it. But that's the goal, is that it's very much separate from me because it's not my barriers. It's the barriers that all women face.
Mm.
Do you find those barriers are bigger in endurance events? Is it because of the distance and the time that we're out there for?
I think hugely so. I think the barrier to someone signing up to a 5K is very different from signing up to a
Mhm.
50K, and the step up to kind of the 100K, the 100-mile distances. A lot is around the training time and
Yeah.
the even just getting to the race. And I think my childcare juggles are, and you'll read through the book, and it's been so funny looking back on the races, how many times I had to finish a race in a certain time for
Yeah.
my childcare. And so when I did the summer spine, um, I was doing it, and I think kind of Cormac, my second, was about 9 months old, and I literally only had like less than 5 days to finish the 7 day race because my parents could only stay for that long. And I paced the entire race to get the train that I needed to get. There was another one where I think kind of I did South Downs 100 and my husband wanted to do a cycling sportive the next day. So I had to finish kind of, I think I had like 19, 20 hours to finish it maximum for my friend Wendy to drive me home and then basically be back in bed before hubby had to leave for the sportive. It's so much juggling that has to happen just to do these events. The
Yeah.
packing, when I went to Taiwan for the World Championships, the amount of bags that were packed because I had to be away for a whole week, which is so difficult when you're the primary carer of the kids. So
Yeah.
I think that's a massive barrier that we don't
Mm.
talk about in just doing the events, but fitting the training in. But I think having the confidence to sign up for these events that we feel that we can do things. I think there's so much. I love hearing stories of women that, like our ultra last year, the SheRaces ultra, we had a woman in her 60s. She did Couch to 5K in March and a 50K ultra in August.
Wow.
Amazing.
But there's no cut-offs.
Yeah.
She
Mm.
can walk it, and she walked it. And we need to share more of these stories because that's where we go, "Well, actually, you did that. So I'm quite similar to you. I think I can do, you did 20 miles, 30 miles a week training. I could probably fit that in at some point.
Mm.
Maybe I can do that too."
Yeah.
Is all this laid out in your book? I mean, do you offer like tips for women or how I'm not sure how the book is laid out or if it's more of a sort of autobiography.
I am not a running coach. I think absolutely. So it is not a book on how to run. Um, there's lots in there about how not to make lots of mistakes that I made, but how not to get yourself into a coma in a jungle. That's a handy one. Don't drink too much water. Um, I think it's my running journey. Yes, and there's lots of crazy stuff about all the ultras, and all the world records and what it's like to run for Great Britain and what it's like to juggle. There's a lot of honesty in pregnancy and postpartum running and how I got through that. And I think I read back kind of what I wrote, and there was definitely so many struggles, so many mental health struggles in there. But really, it's. I think people can take the lessons from it. And I wrote it. I wrote it because I love reading sports books, and you so often read a sports book, and the first chapter is, "I was really sporty at school. Then I found my sport, and now I'm an Olympic gold medalist. And isn't that great?" And I love it, but I've got absolutely nothing in common with them
Mm.
because I was second and last. I was the overweight teenager. I never found running till I was 26 by accident. I've made it all up as I went along. Then finally found Eddie as a coach who got me through UTMB. And I think it's a story of how I've managed to do these things and the things I've learned along the way that hopefully I can impart on others to give them more confidence and to give more confidence to take on a challenge maybe outside our comfort zone and to have the confidence that there's a second chapter in so many of our lives. I think we get to kind of mid-30s often and go, well, that's done. Like I'm done. Like that. This is who I am. And I love the fact that ultra running, especially when people fall into it by accident, like I did, can then become this whole new kind of chapter in our lives. And as it has done for me, and there's probably more chapters to go. But it's yeah, I don't know where I'd be if I wasn't a runner.
Yes. Wow. I think a lot of us would be asking the question.
I don't know what I'd do with my time. I mean, when you run and you run for a long time and you think it's so integral to my life and my daily life and well-being and so on, as you say, it's yeah, it's such a powerful thing and can be what you want it to be. And whoever you are, whatever your experience, your point you made about the lady that started Couch to 5K beginning of the year and then finished the summer doing a 50K ultra, I think that's fantastic and just wonderful that she felt that she could join in and be part of something like that. I think that's like you say, those are the kinds of things and the kinds of stories that we want people to hear, to go, you can do it too.
And that
A lot of,
can be encapsulated in every race as well.
Yeah,
You know, you
absolutely.
can have the fast ones racing at the front, but you can also have the women or whoever at the back who are enjoying it, maybe just doing it more slowly.
and that's the thing, the word ultra, or you say kind of marathon, it's a distance, not a time.
Mm,
Mm.
And I think that's why ultras are often so attractive because you can't compare your time on an ultra. Like
no.
I've done the same race 2 years in a row, one year being so much fitter than the year before and got a slower time because I was bogged down in mud and took one turn and no one cares. And I think that this has been the difficulty with 24 because there's numbers attached to how far you can run in 24 hours. And
Yeah.
the loops are very standard and the Taiwan was super humid and polluted, but they are quite comparable. So there's definitely a struggle there. But most of the ultras, it's just, well, there's a cutoff and you finish. But I think SheRaces, often people think it's about, making it all focused on the back of the pack and making kind of races easier. And it's absolutely not. It's very much focused on the elite side of the field as well, making sure that the female race is equally supported and valued and celebrated and that we can see it and it's visible.
Mm.
And we're giving that right atmosphere for women to race, not blocked at the front, kind of making sure there's a tape
Wow.
for the winner, making sure at the start line you can see the elite women so we can get the photos and not just see a sea of men kind of
Mm.
sprinting off. So it's not about making races easy. We do not need races to be made easier. Like
No.
female
Mm.
athletes
Oh,
are highly capable. We just need
absolutely.
a few tweaks and just to be actively encouraged sometimes or nudged or kind of kicked to be on that start line or kind of given that opportunity that's quite hard to say no to.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
I did that the She Strides race in August, and that was my first 50K in ages. And again, I just went into it knowing I could walk run it the whole thing because I wasn't fit at all. But my goodness, it was tough. You know, there was a lot of elevation in there.
Julie does not set easy courses. She's an
No,
amazing race director.
she is, and it was. I think I said it was a race for women, but not for girls. Um, it was definitely. I came out at the end of it thinking, "Oh yeah, that definitely had a sting in the tail," and it's great because when you've pushed yourself, even if you're walking or walk running or jogging, but you've pushed yourself, and that is what gives you that sense of accomplishment, of confidence, and achievement.
I think that's one of the reasons I think the challenge when I did Ireland and I kind of called it kind of challenge you and it was all about inspiring people to take on a challenge slightly outside their comfort zone, kind of that was very personal. So you knew
Mm.
why you were doing it and you had that extra impetus, whether it was raising money for charity or just being able to kind of, I want to cycle to my mum's house and that's kind of 100 miles and I'll do it over a few days and getting your friends and family to support you. But the outside your comfort zone, I always see kind of where I've come from. I talk about in the book of these kind of stepping stones of I didn't think I could do this, and then I did it. And that just reframed what else I thought I could do. So I took another step and another step. And sometimes our steps get very silly. And sometimes I have these ideas, and my husband's like, really? And then I was like, no. And I'm very, very conscious. I think since nearly dying in Cambodia, that I have 3 young children, and I'm very conscious about what races I will go on, and I'm very conscious about medical coverage on races, and if I'm technically capable. I'm not a very good technical runner. Um, I did TDS, the slightly shorter UTMB, but far more technical, and really wasn't very comfortable on it. So I won't be doing sky racing, absolutely not. Um, but I
Sorry,
think that
what happens in
Tell
Cambodia?
us,
I
yeah.
feel like I've missed this, and our listeners definitely need to
oh, we
hear
have to
this
read the
story.
book. No,
I'll
you
read
don't
the
have to
Yeah.
read
book.
the book.
Okay.
You have to read the book. It was I drank too much water and I had hyponatremia
Okay.
and I was airlifted from the Cambodian jungle. And
Mm.
my husband got a phone call saying, "There's 50% chance she dies, 50% chance she has brain damage. You should get on a plane." So yes, please take your salt tablets, anyone listening. They're very important. And if you're a
Wow.
5'3" woman,
Mm.
you don't need to drink, probably don't need to drink as much as a 6 foot tall male. And that's one of the, when I start to see it comes across in kind of all these guidelines of how much you need and how much men need.
Yeah.
I am very different size.
Mm.
So do I need this much water? And you're being encouraged to drink up your water every
Yeah.
checkpoint. I should have been drinking to thirst and not that much. And the salt tablets weren't strong enough. I have very salty sweat. I'm the one that's covered in like kind of tiger stripes, like white tiger stripes everywhere. It was a huge learning. And
Wow.
I think it always makes me think when I see medical advice or even in like running magazines, like
Yeah.
is it tested on women? And generally
Well,
it's not.
absolutely, Sophie. And that brings back another point around a lot. What is it now? Something like 6% of any study or any research is carried out on women. 6%. So the majority of what we digest on a daily basis or what we come across around advice and guidance isn't directed at us as females, let alone small, petite females who, are nothing like you say, that 6 foot,
Average.
85
Yeah.
kilogram man. And it's really difficult to see through all that, especially if you are new to it or don't know where to go or what questions to ask.
It's the same thing with kind of fueling, kind of everyone's like, oh, 90 grams is like the new kind of 60. Well, a lot of people don't need that. It's depending on the pace you're going, how much you can actually absorb. And I wrote something recently was like the amount you should have is the kind of lower number of how much you actually need, kind of how much you can actually absorb, and how
Mm.
much your stomach can tolerate.
Yeah,
And we're being
absolutely.
forced into all these numbers, and everything is so personalized. I think even training around your menstrual cycle, they're debunking most of these studies that you should do this and this time and just go, well, work out what's good for you because we're all individuals. So I know that I'll be end up working at some point next few years much more in kind of health and looking at these and how do we make sure that health and sports exercise science is done through a female lens. And it's why when I did the 48-hour treadmill, I had a science team from Liverpool John Moores University doing tests on me every hour to see, what can we learn about.
Mm.
It's a case study of one. You're not going to get many people that are going to go on a treadmill for 48 hours because not many people, and I will not do that again. And it was very difficult, is all I can say. Mentally, I
I
think
can't
as well as physically.
imagine.
No,
I
I can't.
genuinely can't imagine.
I was like a zoo animal.
That, I mean, it really was incredible. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but you did it at the running show, so at least you had lots going on around you.
I thought that would help. I think it was really hot and your brain can't switch off.
Mm.
And so I'm really
Mm.
good at like micro naps. And you can't do that when it's so busy. And I think it went too long without a micro nap, and I really struggled getting to sleep when I got to sleep. But the point was not to have the kind of the place where I could set the biggest distance. The point was to make an impact. And so many people I still see people at events and they're like, you're the woman on the treadmill. I saw what you were doing and I was wondering about signing up to a race. And I thought, if you're doing that, then I can sign up to a 10K. And that was the point of the treadmill challenge. It was not about a world record. It was not about pushing the time. It was about, I've got 30,000 people at the show. Could we make just a couple of them think differently about what our limits might be and what they might be capable of?
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Um, I would love, if you don't mind, to skew the conversation to security. Obviously, in light of what's happened recently on the spine, that's really I've had some inquiries about talking about safety concerns just for women in general, obviously not under such extreme circumstances. Um, I think I said on the podcast with Sarah, was I right, Sophie, that it was
Yeah.
you? Yes, it was that you were uncomfortable at the thought of this tracker, of you being able to be tracked out in the middle of nowhere at night during this race. And I think, did you see a head torch coming towards you, and you were really worried, weren't you? What I mean, what do you think can be done around about that?
There's a huge amount. And it is one of the projects that SheRaces is working on for this year. We're looking for some funding to do it properly. I think it's very much a question of if not us now, then who when, in terms of who's going to really look into it. We did some work with AREA events, and they put together they have a phenomenal safeguarding policy on their events. And they had it on Dragon's Back. They started Dragon's Back a few years ago on looking really what the different risks were and how they could mitigate them, and not only mitigate them, but give women a voice to speak up. And Shane's been very open about the first time they did it, they had 5 or 6 major incidents, and he's not naive to think that there weren't incidents before, is that women didn't speak up about them.
Okay.
So there's a huge amount of kind of you need to set out at the start of the race, what the acceptable behavior is. And then women know that this is not acceptable and have to speak up, and there'll be actions. But that the safety in the middle of nowhere, there's lots of different things that races can do and do and are in all of the SheRaces guidelines. We've got the kind of 8 points, simple points that any race can do if you're a 5K, such as kind of period products, such as equal prize money, such as kind of non-unisex, non-male fit t-shirts being offered. But the extended guidelines are things like offering buddying up during the night, making sure that you say to participants that if someone says they don't want to run with you or may make a hint they don't want to run. Some women don't want to run with a strange man through the night, and it's often really difficult to shake someone.
Mm.
And the amount of times I've done fake toilet stops
Mm.
because someone leave, or I think on Lakeland 100 there was a guy. I was on one of the climbs and he just sat behind me without making a word. And I said, "Do you want to pass? Do you want to pass?" And he was clearly using it for pace, and that's absolutely fine, but it was very threatening.
Mm.
We're in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere. On the summer spine, it was when this photographer was coming to me in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't know who it was. And all I know is that there is no one for miles. And this person, and I know that the protocol is they introduce themselves with the number and everything and say, like, I'm a photographer. But these photographers aren't all DBS checked. So you could be a photographer or someone and without an enhanced DBS check. And we did have a serious incident a few years ago where we knew there was a photographer that was on a race where he'd assaulted his ex-wife and was allowed to be a lone photographer on a race. So all of these things do happen. I think it's raising the story. I think Sarah's story is so extreme
Mm.
and it's so unusual, but it does open the conversation up that this is happening in races and what can we do? And we can't protect everyone. And we know that things happen. And we know that actually being in the middle of nowhere is far safer probably than walking through London at night.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
don't want to scare anyone, but small things that can be done. I think trackers are great. I think you should be allowed to anonymize your tracker for certain, certainly anonymized start lists. We have people that contact us that want to be anonymized, whether it's domestic abuse. We've had instances of someone being kind of intercepted by a violent ex-boyfriend on a race because she had a tracker
Mm.
on. These
Mm.
happen.
Mm.
These do happen. And it's how we make sure that we enable these women to still take part in races without too much undue process on the race organizer.
Is it not? I mean, there must be some technical issues, but is it not possible to have a tracker and for the race director to track you, but for it not to be public at all? I mean, so you don't
Yes.
even have to have J blogs on your name. Why does it even have to be on the screen for everyone to see?
Yes, and race directors do that
Yeah.
on request. That's one of the ways that it can be done because on the spine, for example, it's a safety precaution,
Mm.
and you want that. And the black spots are scary. When I did Cauldron Snout, climbing up this waterfall, it's a black spot, and I was so lucky that I was with another racer because I'd been really scared on my own falling. And
Yeah.
you know that they can't see your tracker. I think they
Mm.
put Starlink above some of the black spots now, which is amazing. I mean, amazing kind of safety precaution, but it's really
Yeah.
difficult. And I think this is the dark side of what we do at SheRaces and supporting women. We don't have all the answers. We try to work with race directors to find solutions, to suggest things, to say think about things. But yeah, I think SheRaces. Often think SheRaces is about period products and pregnancy deferrals, and often we're trying to solve these big questions on how do we make racing safer for everyone and women feel more comfortable. And that's one of the things about the women only races and on the start line. So we've got our event launching on July, it's going to be on July the 5th, in Surrey. And
Yes.
lots of women feel more comfortable in a women only environment, at least for their first race or an early race or stepping up a distance. comfortable in a group. It's on a sociable trail. It's my home trails basically. It almost goes past my house. Um,
And are
because
you
I know where all the toilets are.
are you because you've taken over the directorship of it, or is it you or is it someone else? I mean, what do
We've
you think?
taken over, so we own the race,
Mm.
and Phoenix events, run by Vic Verco, are supporting us on the logistics, and they're amazing, amazing inclusive races, really local. I love. They do loads of trail marathons and timed events,
Yes.
also with the best medals.
Yes,
So
I have one. I have one.
they're big and they're always
They're
big and
amazing.
sparkly.
They're
Also,
a
that I like the
tiny
pick a
house.
mix. They're huge, but also you get a pick a mix event where you do a marathon. You can pick any medal you want to
Oh,
take home.
great.
And so I'm like, what would my 5-year-old want me to bring home? And I think I got a big sparkly panda when I did. She was so happy. And there's always pick a mix at the aid stations, but they're working on it. But it's very much under our guidelines, and under kind of making it as inclusive as possible, making it a celebration. So there'll be 10K, 25K, 50K options, no cut-offs, and just a lovely environment. Hopefully, getting so many more women down that would not be on the trails. Sorry, partly because it's so close to London and you can get there on public transport, but
Yeah.
also having a kind of um, an elite field, like a fast field that want to race and want to be see where the competition is and be first across the finish line. So we're really, really excited. I think hopefully it launches this week. We're just getting the final permissions, but
Oh, great.
it's it was running the Ultra in the Peak District that Shane Aria put on, and they put it on the most phenomenal job.
Mm.
It was the most beautiful race, and I was just in tears all day, just seeing the impact it had on so many people that had never done an ultra before, crossing their first line, and you could just see in their faces kind of what it meant, and knowing that I already know that some of them have signed up for 100K. So
Mm.
it's such a slippery slope, and that's the kind of the stepping stones. Like you can't keep going up these slopes because then you end up on doing like ridiculous stuff. And um, luckily I can't go to the Arctic because I got terrible Raynaud, so at least I kind of don't have to do that.
Do you find that there's a balance you have to tread? I mean, again, going back to perspective and experience, um, I've been injured, I've gone through menopause, I've struggled with running a lot in the last few years, but previous to that, I felt myself to be a sort of strong and competitive runner, and I always sort of poo-pooed needing all these things. Well, I'm just as good as the men, I don't need this, I don't need special treatment. Do you find a sort of you have to have a balance with women like that who are saying, I don't need this, is it reverse feminism somehow? I don't know. I get
Really,
some arguments.
it's a really interesting question. This never popped up until we did our triathlon research. And we did that, and there was a small I mean, it was kind of 3% that even hinted towards it. It was tiny, that were very much, we don't need this. We don't want you highlighting that we're not capable. And our response, we're not highlighting that women aren't capable. We're highlighting that we have periods and we have
Mm.
babies, and that physically a lot of us don't want to be swum over in the swim.
Yeah.
um I did one Ironman, and I was swum over and I lost a filling because I was punched in the swim.
No.
It was one of those, it was in back in the days of mixed mass
Yeah.
starts, and I won't do another one
I
because it was
remember that.
frightening.
Yeah. It is. It's horrible. I've done a mass start half Ironman, and I remember vividly going, this is just horrendous, just and really anxious inducing environment.
So we're not asking for the swim to be made easier or
No.
shorter. We're just asking for a bit of personal space,
Yeah.
and not to be harassed, and to have kind of our race celebrated, and to for those differences that are not to do with our capability to be taken into account. And
Yeah.
that's not asking things to be easy. And I think kind of, and I write about it in the book, I have a lot of empathy for these women because I think I could have been one of them. Because before I was made redundant and told to have babies, I didn't believe there were any barriers to being a woman.
Mm.
And I never thought that I was not as capable. I still don't think that women aren't as capable. I just never saw that there are any limitations placed on us, or any discrimination, or any reason why we couldn't. reach the top in the same way a man could. And so I think back and think, could I have been one of those women that said, no, 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 don't make it easy? And I do feel that some of these women, they fought through those barriers to reach the top to compete. And what we should be doing is reaching down and putting down a rope to other women, going, you shouldn't have had to do this. Like, let's put down a rope. We're going to pull you up. We're going to stop this. We're going to break down these barriers rather than making everyone go through what we had because we had to go through it.
I suppose
And
actually what they've done is they fought on the men's terms to
Yeah.
get to the same place as the men, rather than actually acknowledging that we are just as good as the men, but we just need a different path to to get to the front.
we need sport to just be designed for us.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's just races are, and not through the fault of race directors most of the time, because a lot of the time they're men
No.
and they design the race they want to do. And often when we look at a spectrum of race directors we work with globally, there are races that are already have amazing races, and they're often female race directors or women on the organizing team. Um, and then the next chunk is the races that we just didn't realize, but we see this. And of course, we're going to make such simple changes to make people more comfortable. And then for a lot of the big organizations, we just sell the commercial deal. Um, we work with Threshold on kind of an ROI analysis of inclusivity. And they know, I mean, they've proved it. You spend a tiny amount of money, hardly anything, um, on breaking down those barriers and making your races better for
Mm.
everyone, not just for women.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the amount of participation, female participation goes through the roof, but also you get more male entries because the race is just a nicer place to be. And I think looking at the back of the pack research, it's not only about women, it's about
No.
men too. But is anyone else going to do that work? No. So we'll do it. And hopefully it impacts all. And I wouldn't say just novice runners, because it's not just novice runners that are at that tail end. And we've worked with Lisa Jackson, who's been last, I think she says her claim to fame, she's been last in 25 marathons.
Mm.
But she's a very experienced runner,
Mm.
Mm.
but just happens not to be as fast as others. And hopefully we can start improving the experience for everyone because we all pay the same entry fee.
Yes.
And the idea that the aid stations run out of food
Oh, yeah.
or the
Yeah.
finish line's been taken down at the end, or
Okay.
we've not got the same support. I mean, that's unacceptable.
Mm.
And I realize that where I run in the field now, I don't see that. And so that's why the research that the team does is so important because I don't see it, but we find out afterwards. And that's why race directors have to ask the right questions of people that
Mm.
have done the race to make sure, because the race directors don't see what's happening at aid stations all the time because they're often at the finish line with the fasties.
Mm.
So there's so much that needs to be done just to make sure that, you don't run out of water for the people that are kind of
It's, I mean,
so.
it's actually just down to simple logistics in that
Yeah.
they've not planned the checkpoints or the finish line with enough time to still be up and running
Yeah.
within their cutoff. I mean, it's their own cutoff. They've made it, but yeah, it is
I
just
mean,
logistics, really.
you do hear, and in the last few years of big races that have made those kinds of mistakes, and kind of I've seen feedback from runners who, again, we're not even talking about right at the back of the pack. We're talking like middle of the pack, and they've got to aid stations and there's no food, there's no water, or they've gone to get more, but it's not come back. And yeah, simple things that, like you say, Katie, it's down to organization. It's not, yeah,
It's also being kind of just aware of, I think a lot of what we do is open people's eyes to what's going on at races and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And that's where the back of the part, as soon as we finish writing it up, we're just writing it up at the moment, hopefully it's out in a few weeks. Yeah, this whole book thing's made me very busy because it's launching so soon, and it's like trying to get my like the work on the back of the pack stuff coming out. But hopefully it's a few weeks. It's stories drive change is what we worked out. The X% of people think this doesn't matter. Although
no,
the stat that I think 88% of women would be more likely to sign up to a race that was actively promoted as inclusive for women is a huge stat.
Mm.
The race directors are taken very seriously, but the back of the pack, the stories that we've got to share, and the very simple changes and things that happen to people, and they've been put off. tail walkers being right next to them saying, hurry up. Um,
Oh,
or kind of right,
God.
kind of,
yeah,
or abuse, saying a race director's at finish line saying, I've been waiting around in the cold for ages for you, and they're half an hour inside the cutoff. It's
no,
there's so many,
Wow.
and you know that that person's not going to come back to that race, and they're not going to tell their friends. And partly when races have the SheRaces accreditation, we kind of want them to have that accreditation so people see it, and we know that they're going to get their mates back
I'm confident. Yeah.
because it's a
Yeah.
great race. And you see some races become so successful because everyone knows they're going to have such a great experience.
Mm. Do you know what? You've just reminded me of an experience I had. Um, I was a sweeper for a race years ago with another chap. I hadn't met him before, and we were chatting as we do at the back. I think we left about 15, 20 minutes after the last runners had gone, and then we were, pottering along as you do, chatting away. And then I think we got up to the tail runners maybe about 5 miles from the end, and they were walk running, sort of finishing it off. He got so cross and irritated that they were so slow, he left. He went. He
Wow.
said, I'm not waiting. I'm going." And I was so shocked. Um, yeah, I just felt so bad for them. I think they did actually complain to the race director afterwards. But yeah, that sort of thing, it's just so crushing.
Yeah. That's
Um,
just awful.
yeah, yeah,
You have that on the road marathons. You see people that the tail ones run bikes and telling them to kind of hurry up. And you know, uh, the SheRaces ultra, we had tail angels, um, highly experienced ultra runners. They were amazing. But I think your job is to get people to finish. And I
Mm,
think especially when you're concerned about aid, so some of the advice to race directors, if you're worried about your aid stations or someone's just outside the cutoff, but they're moving forward and you want them to continue, put some stuff in a pack of the tail walker. Make sure they've got kind of
Yeah.
list like foot tape. Make sure they've got kind of things that can help them kind of get to the finish. Extra water, extra supplies, extra food. Make sure that their job is to get the people to the finish line feeling great and confident
Yeah.
about themselves in the best way. That's the job of the tail angel. Um,
well, it's
and that,
interesting you say that because I mean, certainly I would have thought it was more a case of ensuring we didn't lose anyone. You're sort of making sure everyone's in front of you and collecting any marking tape or anything that's up. Um, but I think that adds a whole a different nuance to being this the sweeper, which is great. I mean, I love the idea of that you're actively helping them. My thought has always been to hang well back so they don't even know I'm there. Otherwise, I think if they know you're there, they feel a bit rushed. Whereas if
Hmm.
you hang back out of sight,
if
um,
you're giving the extra job, I think is really helpful because
mm,
if they're collecting the marking tape in, they've got something else to do, they're staying back. But if the people in front that you're tail walking need something, to know that they can come to you and go, we need
yes,
this.
Yeah.
Um, and or to know how far to the next checkpoint, or you can say, look, the checkpoint's closing, but we've got stuff for you, or they're leaving things, giving them that confidence.
yeah,
The worst thing,
that's
kind of
lovely.
the biggest stress is wondering, am I going to get to that cutoff in time? And it's such a mental stress that you can't
Mm,
enjoy the race. And my friends kind of that we worked on this, they'd say some of the kind of UTMB cutoffs used to be very tight at the start. And we've tried to work with them like on their global race to say, don't make them so tight at the start
Hmm.
because it's such a stress, even during training people are looking at this race going, I don't think I can get to that first cutoff. I can complete the whole course in the total cutoff. I can't get to that first one, and someone will be behind me, and I'm nervous. And just relax the first few cutoffs.
mm,
Spartathlon's the same. The 50-mile cutoff is, I think, 9 hours 15. And people go so fast because they want to be so inside the cutoff. And you're hilly and it's super hot. And that they then blow themselves up for the rest of the race. Um,
yeah,
so I remember kind of when I did it, I was coached by Roy Britton, and he's like, don't go too fast, like get there in advance, but everyone's going to blow themselves up sprinting
Hmm.
um, to that checkpoint, thinking about how it needs to be and giving people the best opportunity to finish is surely what race directors are supposed to do because the goal is that we finish and that we come back and we're happy. And I think sometimes there's people want to put a jeopardy in there to make it kind of, are you going to, no, let's just say if you get there on that time, you complete it. Take that away. If we work hard, we train hard, we do what we think we can do, we want to go home with that medal around our necks.
And a great experience of the whole event. And yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
But is there not an argument that some people just want to put on a tough, fast race? And yeah, if you don't have the speed, don't enter it.
I think there are races that are around that, absolutely. And I think logistics are very difficult. If you've got a road marathon and you've got road closures,
Mm.
and this is not so much the ultra competition, ultra conversation, but we work with Abingdon Marathon, and they had a 5 hour cutoff for a marathon.
Oh,
And you
blimey.
can imagine the percentage of women on the start line.
Mm.
I think it was under 20%, and marathons are nudging kind of 40% in the UK now. And they're like, we can't do that. And we looked at, and this is part of the back of the pack. Well, look at the road closure you have to make. Do you have to? If there's a cut off halfway, then you know that these will be opened,
Mm.
which is the same pace. Can you put people onto pavements? Can you say to people, in the same way the London Marathon does, if you can't do it this time, this will not be your finish line because we have to close the main one down, but you will be going a different way into a different park. And then that's your finish. Giving people the confidence that there's a way. So it's 6 hours.
Mm.
Um, Female entries and all entries jump. They sold out for the first time in a few years. It's a phenomenal event. It's been taken over by um, a race director team of women. Completely changed the culture around the race. It's a wonderful race.
Oh,
It's
that's
things like that. But then there's also the we saw 10Ks that were a 1 hour, 10 minute cutoff. And there
Blimey.
was no reason that can be extended by 10 minutes, 20 minutes,
no.
40 minutes by the time you're,
Mm.
and it was to, I think, some of them to make a point.
Mm.
And, but I think feral races are often the same way, but we work with a feral race where um, they said we have a cutoff because we can't allow the volunteers on the fell for that period of time because of safety to the volunteers. A shorter race. That is absolutely right. If there's a risk to the volunteers, but what you could do is allow an early start.
Mm.
And even with the early start, the first starters that are starting early wouldn't be to the first checkpoint before the first fastest runner. And so the volunteers aren't up on the course any earlier, but you're giving so many more people. And I think they doubled the amount of women over 50 that entered, and also men over 60 went up. They used to do this race for many years and were struggling with the cutoff. So there's so many things that if you think outside the box and think, yes, we want to put on a tough race, and we've got these logistical constraints,
Mm.
but can we think of who else we can involve that can make it? And I do see kind of the putting on an ultra. I mean, for example, the Centurion cutoffs for the 100 miles are often tighter than some others. It's what the race is, and it's how long they got the volunteers out for. And they want it to be a more running race and a walking race. And there are races that are more walking races.
Mm.
But I do think sometimes there's a bit more wiggle room than race directors allow for. And that's where we help them go, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And, most races are businesses and they want more people on the start
Yeah.
line. And what we often find is, I think we fought the Abingdon. It was actually one of the SheRaces team had 4:15 marathon time, and she wouldn't sign up for Abingdon because it was only a 5 hour cutoff. And she was like, "What if I get stuck in a toilet or something happens?" And so you don't often need people to get to those higher cutoff times, but sometimes it just gives you that little bit more confidence to enter in the first place.
Brilliant. Well, it's amazing. It's amazing how you've been able to essentially teach people how to think outside the box, how
Mm.
to add here, take away there, move it here. Yeah, that takes a lot of effort and work.
And ultimately, I think you've highlighted how important it is to keep the runner at the heart of what they're doing, because I think perhaps sometimes you can lose sight of actually it's the runner that matters and the safety of the runner and the well-being of the runner. And you've helped them to kind of be more person focused around their events.
We hope so. I mean, there's a lot of work to do, but I think, no one was really talking about pregnancy deferrals and period products and things like that a few years ago. And it's become fairly normal. Um, and we're trying to normalize that in so many kind of more countries. It's time consuming, it's difficult. We definitely need some more funding and some support um, to do more, but we've been very lucky that races have been so supportive. Um, and we do have those races that we call them the dinosaurs that we know aren't going to change. And the dinosaurs went extinct is what we always kind of say, but
So
we want
true.
but we want to grow participation in sport. I mean, I love running, I love trail running, I love ultras. I love seeing people complete them. I would love more men, women of all backgrounds. And I think kind of even touched on the diversity issue on breaking down barriers for kind of people that don't look like the average trail runner.
Mm.
Um, whether that's kind of size, whether that's age, whether that's color. Um, it's all part. I think we call it SheRaces, and yes, we focus on the differences that we have as women, but really what we're trying to do is make sure that we get more people on those start lines, and most importantly, crossing those finish lines kind of with that confidence in the rest of their lives. And I guess partly that's what the book's about. It's not a teach someone to run an ultra. It's probably give someone the confidence to maybe take on an ultra or something completely different. And they can laugh at all the silly things that I've done along the way and all the mistakes I've made, of which there've been an awful lot.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Sophie, thank you so much. Faye, just give us another little sneak peek of the book.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, it's not going to be a sneak peek because when this is going to be released on the 30th, so it will be. Go out and buy it. Go out and buy it. The
Well,
power within.
I'm at the run show, so yeah. So I think I'm doing a signing at the run show, but I'd love to chat to anyone there
Okay. Oh well, I'll see you
about
there. I'm
anything.
coming at some stage. So
And we're launching the SheRaces event there as well on July 5th. So I'll be
okay.
around all weekend if anyone wants to ask me any questions about ultra running. Yeah, I think
Brilliant.
my goal in life is yeah, stop people making all the same silly things that I did because um yeah, some of them are pretty bad.
Well, I look forward to reading about them. Thank you so much, Sophie.
Oh,
Thank
thanks
you,
for having me
Sophie.
on.